Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really compelling and honestly sometimes unsettling narrative from just one source. It really gives you this feeling, like something's coming.
That's a good way to put it. And our job today really is to walk through this source's pretty intricate story.
Right.
They weave together these observations of unexplained stuff, phenomena, with some really serious claims about, well, information being suppressed, global events.
Okay.
We're basically exploring how they see it all connecting up.
So what are the big pieces here? We've got these strange lights showing up in the sky.
Lots of those.
These bizarre, circular clouds that look out of place. And then it gets darker, this idea of truth seekers maybe facing danger, mysterious circumstances.
Exactly. And it's all coming through the perspective of this one source we're examining today.
Okay, so that's quite the setup. Where do they even start laying all this out?
Well, they dive right in. They start with what they actually call an invasion of strange lights.
An invasion, wow.
Yeah, appearing everywhere. And what's striking really is just how widespread it is geographically, according to them. And the descriptions they've gathered seem pretty consistent. It gives you a real sense of the scale they're trying to convey.
Okay, let's unpack that. The source mentions Massachusetts first.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 crafts.
Yeah, that's the first specific one. 4 or 5 crafts, supposedly just sitting there in the sky for 3 hours.
3 hours.
From dusk until dark. And they note there were 4 witnesses.
Right.
The source even adds this detail about the audio being muted on a recording because the people watching were apparently drinking and being funny.
Huh. That's specific. Adds a kind of grounded, if slightly odd, detail to it, doesn't it?
It does, and that's just the beginning. The source then points to other sightings they've collected. There's talk of a viral video, formations of lights over Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently you can hear the crowds just going absolutely crazy in the background.
Okay, Florida. Then what? San Francisco, too.
Lights supposedly caught on a local news station's weather cam, just hanging over the bay.
On a news camera. Interesting.
Then there's this account from West Kentucky. The person there initially thought they were maybe stadium lights, like 6 to 8 glowing lights.
Okay.
But then realized they weren't, pulled out a phone, got a quick video, and then poof, they were gone.
So Massachusetts, Florida, California, Kentucky, any more?
Oh, yeah. The source mentions St. Cloud, Minnesota, too, seen for 2 nights straight, apparently.
2 nights.
And the Detroit, Michigan metro area. The source keeps hammering this point. These lights are appearing everywhere. It paints this picture of, well, constant, unexplained activity overhead.
So what's the pattern here, according to the source? Are they saying these lights behave in certain ways?
Definitely. They're connecting dots, suggesting there is a pattern. Sometimes they're in formation, sometimes they're totally silent, other times they just zip out of view. It's presented as deliberate, not random.
Right. It really feels like the source is building a case, observation by observation.
Yeah.
And they're trying to show us, the listeners, this pattern they see.
Exactly. And it makes you ask, okay, when one source pulls together so many different reports like this, what's the bigger story they are trying to tell about all these lights? It seems they're implying it's coordinated,
And then, from the lights, the source pivots, right, to something else visual but different, these big circular cloud formations.
Yeah. Equally mysterious, visually striking, and again, the claim is they're appearing all over the world.
All over the world. Okay. How do they connect this to the rest of it? Is it just weird weather?
Well, that's the thing. The source doesn't present it as just weird weather. They suggest it's linked to something, well, bigger, more profound. They specifically mention sightings in Australia and the U.S., and they definitely frame it with a specific interpretation in mind, not just clouds.
Okay, describe these clouds. What do they supposedly look like?
They call them strange rings. The source says they do not blend in with the rest of the clouds, almost like they should not be there.
And the Australian examples.
They mentioned strange weather down south there, and one of these rings was apparently caught, just for a moment, on a local weather radar.
On radar again?
Yeah, and the source provides, before and next radar shots to show it appearing and disappearing.
Huh. Any other Australian ones?
There's another image mentioned taken by a woman who was driving, and she reportedly saw objects coming out of it.
Objects coming out of the cloud ring.
That's the claim presented by the source, yeah. And then there's a U.S. example, another circular cloud, also caught on radar.
Okay.
And the source makes a point of saying this isn't the first time rings like this have shown up on radar, implying it's a recurring thing and maybe not natural.
So what are they then, according to the source? What are the theories they float?
Well, they go pretty far out there, suggesting maybe they're the outlines of cloaked crafts.
Cloaked craft.
Or maybe the after effect from a craft entering our atmosphere. Or as they put it, for doing something at least in our skies.
Wow. Okay. So that's a huge interpretive leap from just an unusual cloud formation.
It absolutely is. It frames the whole thing very specifically, doesn't it? Suggesting there's some kind of hidden, deliberate presence up there.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely ties back into that initial feeling they convey that something's coming.
Okay, so we've had lights, we've had clouds. Now, the source takes a much darker turn here, doesn't it? Into some really controversial territory.
Yes, this is where the tone shifts quite dramatically. The source starts directly linking these phenomena we've discussed to what they see as a threat against truth seekers.
A threat.
Mm-hmm. And then they pivot to focus on one specific, very disturbing case.
How do they frame this threat? Do they seem worried themselves?
Oh, explicitly. The source states they're concerned for their own safety. Yeah. And they point to what they describe as recent mysterious deaths of people who investigate certain sensitive topics. This sets a really grim stage for the specific allegations that follow.
Okay, so what are these alleged mysterious deaths? Who are they talking about?
They claim 2 UFO researchers have dropped dead due to mysterious circumstances just in the past month.
2 in a month?
Yeah, they specifically name Max Spears, and they mention another researcher from India. But then the focus really narrows onto one case, Philip Marshall.
Philip Marshall. Okay, who was he, according to the source?
They describe him as a former airline pilot and a prominent figure in what's often called the 911 truth movement.
Okay, and what happened to him?
He was found dead, gunshot wound to the head, and tragically, so were his 2 teenage children, and even his dog also shot.
Oh my God, that's horrific.
It is, and the source strongly, vehemently claims this was all covered up to look like a suicide. They call it the alleged complete annihilation of his family.
And the source connects this timing-wise.
Directly. They say this happened right after Marshall published a new book. The title was The Big Bamboozle, 9/11 and the War on Terror.
Right after his book comes out.
Mm-hmm. And the source adds that Marshall apparently believed his life was in danger, that he'd expressed paranoia about being killed while the book was being edited and marketed.
Wow.
So the source doesn't see it as a suicide at all. They frame it clearly as murder, and they point the finger directly at the government.
Okay, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So the source presents Marshall's death as this potential assassination, and then they dive into why he might have been targeted, into his 9/11 theories.
Exactly. This is where the source really connects the dots, in their view. They lay out the specific arguments that Philip Marshall and others in that movement put forward. Arguments the source clearly believes are the reason for the alleged danger and his death. These are presented as evidence for 9/11 being an inside job.
Got it. And just to be absolutely clear for everyone listening, we are relaying the arguments as presented by our source. We're not validating them, just explaining what the source claims Marshall and others believed.
Precisely. It's crucial to understand these are the specific points our source is highlighting, which they believe were central to Marshall's work and the danger he supposedly faced.
Okay, so what are those specific 9/11 claims the source brings up?
Well, a major one they focus on is the alleged discovery of nanothermite in the dust at Ground Zero.
Nanothermite, what's up?
It's described as a highly energetic, explosive material. The source claims this finding has been discussed in countless chemical physics journals and presents it as key evidence pointing towards controlled demolition, not just collapse from impact and fire.
Okay, nanothermite, what else?
The source also talks about thousands of engineers and architects. They claim these professionals support a real independent 9/11 investigation because, in the source's words, they know that there's something very wrong with the official story of the collapses. This suggests, significant expert dissent.
Right. And then there's the focus on World Trade Center 7, right? WTC 7.
Yes, that comes up prominently. Building 7 wasn't hit by a plane, but it completely collapsed later that day.
Mm-hmm.
The source brings up that infamous quote from Larry Silverstein, the complex's owner, where he talked about the decision regarding the building and used the phrase, pull it.
And the source claims pull it means?
They state emphatically that pull it is a specific industry term for controlled demolition.
Okay.
And they add the assertion that no other steel-framed skyscraper ever has totally collapsed just from fire or structural damage. They claim WTC-7 only had small fires.
Wow. Okay, so demolition claims, expert dissent.
Mm-hmm.
What about the operational side of things on the day?
They go there too. The source highlights the claim that Dick Cheney was reportedly in command of NORAD, that's the North American Aerospace Defense Command, on 9/11, and that he was supposedly running war game exercises that same morning. The source also alleges there was a stand-down order given when fighter jets were trying to intercept the hijacked planes.
Implying deliberate inaction.
That's exactly how the source presents it, yes.
Anything else from the source on the 9/11 claims?
Yeah, one more major point they raise. They claim that hundreds of firefighters who were there on the ground actually witnessed and later testified to hearing bombs and explosions inside the Twin Towers before they collapsed.
Bombs and explosions.
And the source states this testimony was ignored by the 9/11 Commission. They also mention the presence of molten metal everywhere in the debris, which they say was also ignored by the commission.
Molten metal.
Yeah, another piece they used to bolster the argument for something other than just fire and structural failure, essentially, an inside job.
So putting it all together, what really strikes me is how this source weaves everything together. The lights, the clouds, the alleged deaths, these specific 9/11 arguments. It's presented as one deeply interconnected narrative, isn't it? Suggesting this hidden, pervasive influence behind it all.
Absolutely. That interconnectedness is the core of their presentation. They aren't just listing odd events. They're deliberately constructing a singular, overarching story.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We went from, these widespread reports of strange lights
Right.
and these mysterious circular clouds, all the way to these really somber claims about truth seekers potentially being silenced and these very detailed, controversial arguments about 9/11, all from this one source.
Indeed. And you see how the source links all these seemingly separate things. They tie it into one single urgent narrative. There's this perceived pattern of suppression, of threat. It reinforces that whole idea they started with, that something's coming and maybe there's a hidden hand at work.
It definitely makes you think about the sheer scope of what this one source is putting together.
Yeah.
From, mysteries in the sky right down to these incredibly charged interpretations of major historical events, all aimed at painting this picture of some kind of hidden influence shaping things.
This deep dive really showed how one source believes they're, gearing up for something, as they might put it. And they're connecting dots, perhaps dots others wouldn't connect or maybe don't see. And it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When a source combines such a variety of anomalous observations, lights, clouds, with these really intense overarching claims about hidden agendas, cover-ups, and danger, what does that mean for how you listening discern and process information in a world that just keeps getting more complex? How do we navigate that?